Welcome to Pod Me If You Can. I'm David Farrell. Today's film is Johnny Be Good, starring Anthony Michael Hall, Robert Downey Jr., and introducing Uma Thurman.
Pardon me if you can. Movie reviews.
Johnny Walker, Anthony Michael Hall, is the best high school footballer. Even though he seems scrawny, he has amazing skills on the field. All of the colleges in America want to recruit him, and all the ladies love him. He's taking the opportunity to weigh up his college options. With the help of his friend, Robert Downey Jr., and girlfriend, played by Uma Thurman, Johnny will decide which college suits him best and what his future should be. Johnny Be Good came out in 1988 and obviously capitalized on the song which plays in the credits sequence. It was really fun to see Robert Downey Jr. just chewing up the scenery here, and a very young Uma Thurman in her first role. One of the big problems with this film, and maybe a reason why it's not classic, is because it just feels like they're padding the story. There's a lot of scenes that aren't necessary, and montages. There's one scene where Johnny plays the drums while he watches football reruns, and it seems to go on for far too long. There's also a scene where Uma Thurman's father, who's a police officer, suggests that the two played football against each other, and if Anthony Michael Hall's character Johnny Walker loses, he stay away from his daughter. So it's very light on story and substance. It all feels like the plot is very thin. Will Johnny choose a college, basically? And he takes the entire film to decide which and if college, is the best option for him. There's some physical comedy. There's a very funny bit where they break a glass water cooler at the start of the film before the football team goes out. They're just getting psyched. And there's a handful of topless girls, which is the kind of thing you can expect in these 80s comedies. The other thing is he only really visits 2 schools over the course of the film before making his decision. The 2 schools show him all the benefits of going to their schools. They vie for his affection. There's a seduction scene in the middle of a football field. They have some funny visual jokes, like a couple of black guys who are in a solarium, and a bunch of students who use steroids. One of the problems is that every character Johnny interacts with feels a bit like an extra. Everybody's a bit two-dimensional, and we're just kind of going through the motions at each school. Robert Downey Jr. is very effective as his best friend, and is the comedy relief of the film. Uma Thurman has this one scene where she wears pajamas that are like a onesie with the butt flap that you can unbutton at the back, and even she makes that look good. So she's fresh-faced at this point, and you can see she's got a career ahead of her. The football coach is played by Paul Gleason from The Breakfast Club, Jennifer Tilly plays his wife, and John Hawkes has a cameo as a pizza boy. One of the funniest parts of the whole film for me is a cameo from Robert Downey Sr. Now, he was also a filmmaker, and he made a film called Putney Swope, which Louis C.K. says is one of his favourite films. Now, Bud Smith, who's the director of this film, he was the editor on Putney Swope. And there's some kind of inside gag because basically Robert Downey Sr. has a cameo where he's watching a movie at a drive-in called Putney Swope, obviously the film he directed, and he says to himself, "This movie is shit." Now, there's also a scene in Putney Swope where the characters are watching a previous Robert Downey Sr. film called Chafed Elbows, so this is a gag that just keeps going back. I don't know how far back it goes. Johnny Be Good would have been better if it had been about his last summer before going to school, having a relationship with Uma Thurman, saying goodbye to his friend, played by Robert Downey Jr., who maybe didn't have as big an aspirational career ahead of him, the realities of losing your friendship groups and things changing growing up. It also would have been a more interesting film if it was about actually starting college, if he had chosen a college and it was his first year and it was that, that change, that transition, that, maybe he's not as good a footballer as he thought he was, or he was a big fish in a small pond and now he's in a much bigger pond, and will he deal with the pressure? The choice for this film to be about choosing a college actually makes it a lot less interesting. And as I said, it's very light on plot. And though it's fun to see Robert Downey Jr. and Uma Thurman pop up in this, and fans of The Breakfast Club might get a kick out of Paul Gleason and even Anthony Michael Hall, but it's light on plot and doesn't have enough heart or a strong message And I feel like that's what keeps it from being a classic.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Check out our podcast at www.podmeifyoucan.com.